All right, guys, it is October 20th, 2018. Mike Richardson and I are on one of our late fall trips. And tonight, we're going to tell you guys the story of a really special muskie that honestly hasn't been talked about specifically at all. I didn't post anything. We didn't discuss this because we don't want anybody to know about this fish. It was a giant.
Yeah, you told me and probably your brother and Michael Conti, and I would say that's the select few that you shared.
The old Boot Daddy Plus.
And Joe Booker, of course.
That's it. And so guys, the backstory here. So Mike and I are on this late fall muskie hunt, but we've got a plan for this weekend, and that is to boat, catch, and conquer one big fish, which has been nicknamed Big Boy.
Big Boy, yeah. I mean, up until this point, all the biggest muskies have been, it's a she, it's a her, it's a big girl, and this fish is like, it's the big boy, it's the alpha male. It's that giant, big, tanker muskie.
And we all have these fish stories, we've caught quite a few big Wisconsin muskies, and we've caught some big Canadian muskies. We've held them, we've measured them, I've netted them for clients, but this fish, I want to tell you a little story here, which was interesting. Actually, it's kind of funny. A year ago, we released a video, which was to date, and it still is, my biggest Wisconsin muskie, the Gadorsey muskie. It's a monstrous fish. And it turns out, on this same body of water, last August of 2018, was fishing by myself on a deep rock reef. And I saw a boil, and we're going to roll this film in just a second. I want to tell you guys this story. I saw a boil off in the distance there. It was just after a big rainstorm had come through. Actually boated a really nice muskie, and the sad thing was this story kind of, overshadows the awesomeness of the muskie I had just caught. I kind of forget about how cool that was. It was a great fish. Anyway, I see this boil off in the distance. I instantly switch it up. I try to throw in the 500 Goldie at her. I didn't really know what I was dealing with at the moment.
Right.
I'm in 25 feet of water, deep rock reef out in the middle of the lake, and don't see anything after about 3 or 4 casts with Goldie. Go back to a straight model 8-inch depth rater. I think I take about 3 casts, and I take a cast parallel to the structure. So I was ticking, and my 3rd or 4th cast I take, you're going to see here, I take it parallel to the structure. I don't tick bottom at all during this cast, and I'd say it was probably 3/4 of the way through the cast. I feel that telltale crankbait bite of a muskie. I set the hook, and instantly I know I've got a big fish. And the difficulty of the situation was, Mike, the fish starts charging the boat, and I'm sucking up line, and it's staying down deep because I'm assuming the depth rater at this point was probably, when she hit, probably about 10 feet down, 10 to 12 feet down was at its, the peak depth, the peak running depth.
Optimal depth.
Yes. And I'm fighting this fish in, and all I can tell you guys is this simple statement. This muskie was bigger than the Gadorsey muskie. This muskie was the biggest Wisconsin muskie I have ever seen, personally.
Yeah.
Now, I have guided and caught, to my name, I've got 4 Wisconsin 50-inch plus fish, 50-inch fish in the boat. Since the start of my guiding in 2007, got 4 50-inchers. This fish was something different. The thought crossed my mind during this fight, how am I going to hold this fish? And this is what happened. This is what happened. And this is after I loosened up the drag. This is after I hit free spool. I mean, I took the proper precautions during the fight, in which I'm still baffled. And you're going to see as this unfolds, it's really, I can't watch this footage. I was afraid to watch the footage.
Right.
Because of how big this fish was. I've never seen a fish in Wisconsin at this size. Not only lengthwise, but just thickness-wise. It's just a monster fish.
Dude, walk me through like the emotions of like losing such a fish of gigantic proportions?
Well, I mean, first of all, I can say the weirdest part is you watch this, and at a certain point, you see me sitting there. I've got a 9-foot Legend Elite St. Croix, medium heavy, and it looks as if I'm just stuck on the bottom. The rod is bent, and nothing's budging. Which is a really weird feeling in the fishing world. You would watch this and you'd think, you know, Chaz is stuck on an anchor or a rock.
It's not like you went out there unequipped. You were totally ready for a true beast, and you hooked up with one.
This was just an absolute monster, and sometimes it goes your way, sometimes it doesn't. And this is one of those scenarios. I think during the fight, I think this fish was hooked better. And during these barrel rolls and everything, so the feeling I had was I think I was managing my emotions pretty well in the moment.
Yeah.
But I knew I was hooked into a really big fish, because I remember saying to myself, "How am I going to hold this?" I saw its head, and I'm like, "Wow, this is big." Right. And there's just I think you're going to see it. You're going to see in the footage. There's an uncontrolled. I kind of felt like I didn't have a lot of control as much as I wanted. It was this combination of like reeling, free spool, and the fish is kind of doing its thing. And when they get so big, you're kind of along for the ride. It's not you're not in control as you are in some of these smaller fish. You're kind of managing. You're trying to, I guess I would say, minimize the negative side effects that could possibly happen.
Damage control.
Yeah, you're kind of in damage control. You're kind of praying to God that the hooks are in, they're embedded well, and you're kind of just trying to keep a tight line on this fish.
Yeah.
You're in damage control mode. Right. Trying to tire this fish out. And unfortunately in this scenario, this fish was not tiring out, and the way it came off was kind of like, it wasn't some epic like tear off and a big splash. It almost, after it had done this big power run, it was like about like the second like power run it made, it kind of surfaced alongside of the boat and it just swam away. And I just remember seeing the depth raider
just kind of pop out.
Yeah, it didn't even like, it just like slid out. And I just look,
because we've all had that moment where the lure literally comes flying out.
Yeah.
And it's it's out of the water, and there's a splash, and there's that like, no, like that moment.
Dude, exactly.
But
right?
This one you're saying is like, it was very anticlimactic almost. It
was almost as if somebody like took a knife and hypothetically just stuck it in you and just said, like it was as if it was the smoothest like goodbye I've ever seen a big muskie do. There was no big splash. It was just, it came up and it just swam away, and the bait just kind of plopped to the side. And I didn't really know what happened, because again, once I kind of knew who I was dealing with on this, I knew this was big boy. I loosened up the drag. I was free spooling this fish, and still, I don't know if that, I mean, we're talking 3 treble hooks. Yeah. And some of these fish, you look at in the landing net and you say, get the bolt cutters, get the JBOs, we got to do surgery. And you're like, how could this happen? This fish is hooked so badly. And here we have a scenario where, I mean, if this fish had been hooked like any other way, maybe we would have gotten her. Maybe we would have gotten her if I had a partner in the boat. I don't know.
I know. You said that to me, and you're like, I thought about it, and I'm like, maybe if there was somebody there, maybe we'd have a shot.
We would have had a shot.
But maybe not. We don't really know. But another thing, what if you don't look at the hook again?
We would have had a shot. It's really tough to say.
Another thing to think about is, was it that only one part of the treble was actually embedded in that fish's mouth? And, because sometimes you got like multiple parts of the treble are stuck, they're hooked in there. Was it that this was the only piece of the treble that was hooked in there, and that fish was so big and so powerful that on one of those power runs, it actually, created enough force to bend out the hook? Yeah. I mean, trying to look at it from like a physics or a scientific standpoint, obviously.
We call it in the physics world tensile strength. And we could do some measurements on exactly how many pounds of force it takes.
It would be really
this
interesting to look into.
You know, you can put this on a vice grip and you can just really reform.
That might be an experiment for later, because that's
Absolutely.
something worth looking into.
And you could think 2 teachers here could probably figure that one out. But you know, I guess I would say this, you know, that this fish, to put things in perspective, and how this fish messed me up. Now, obviously, and you'll see, I think I have some really interesting remarks. In the heat of the moment, I actually start talking about a thankfulness to our men and women serving in our military across the world. I kind of said, look, I lost a big fish, but what is this in scheme of life? It's small, but in the scheme of muskie hunting, it was a big deal.
Yeah.
And that's what we're talking about right now. And you know, so this fish, I lost about 4 nights of sleep over this fish. I remember I didn't want to look at the camera footage. I was afraid to see, you know, what I was going to see. And again, if we're talking putting things in perspective, I haven't hunted white-tailed deer yet this year. This fish changed the game. Priorities shifted.
Well, you've been haunted by this memory. It's one of those like muskies you dream about, and now it's like it bent out a treble hook. It's become personal now.
It has become personal, and I want to think back, and this is kind of odd that it's on the same body of water. Look at the Dorsey muskie.
Yeah.
Lost once in June.
Yeah.
Lost once in July. Lost once in August. We got her in September. It's possible if you stay dedicated on these big fish. This is why we call it muskie hunting. We are talking about setting up a hunt. It's late October. High temp tomorrow of 34 degrees.
It's gonna feel
Blustery
like
winds.
winter. Yeah, it's going to feel like winter tomorrow.
We don't know what we're getting into as far as our reels, you know, our line guide's going to be freezing up, our reel's going to be freezing up. Mike and I have the game plan set. And we'll talk about that here in just a moment, you know, what we're thinking. But what we're getting at here is this is a hunt. We're going after Big Boy. This fish is marked. We know where she lives. You know, will tomorrow's timing with our attack sync up with this fish's timing on this rock reef? It's tough to say.
Right.
But we have to try.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, like we said, it's personal now.
Man.
One of the biggest muskies I've ever hooked in my life. Darn it. Wasn't hooked good. That was one of the biggest fish I've ever seen in Wisconsin. That was the biggest Wisconsin fish I ever hooked. That was this biggest. Well, guys, you can imagine what a hard moment this is for me. I mean, it's hard to really put into words how big that fish was, and I'm curious to look at the footage tonight. I'm trying not to get down because, one, it's just a fish and there's nothing I can do about it right now except keep fishing, keep going. Two, I did the best I could. Hook bent out. I didn't show it, and I bent it back right away because I kept going. I just thought, hey, I've seen crazier things in life. Maybe she'll grab it again. I thought just maybe she'll grab it again, but I'm just for the hell of it. Anyway, what I was saying there is that she did bend a hook out. These are 3/0 KVD hooks, and you know, I was free spooling that fish too. I actually loosened the drag up just a touch. I was free spooling her, so I'm really surprised one of those hooks bent out. When she came by that very last time, I knew she wasn't hooked well. The bait had moved, and I was just holding on. Honestly, those look new. I was just holding on. I was trying my best to just keep a tight line. When they get that big, you know, the only fish I can think of, I mean, that fish was bigger than Gadorsey, thicker. I've never seen one that big out here in Wisconsin. I mean, that was just absolutely a monstrous fish in all proportions. I couldn't even imagine holding that fish. I mean, it's a real heartbreaker. It's like, you know, the emotions inside right now are, you know, do I curl up in a ball and cry? You know, what good is that going to do me, right? I know better than that now. I've done that before. I've lost some fish. Not that big, but I've lost some fish. That was probably the... I'm trying to think, man. I mean, Musky Zilla was 54 inches. And that fish was big. It was a category all of its own. I've never seen one like that out here. So I'm gonna just keep going, putting new hooks on. I'm gonna keep going. Go fish that spot once more through. I don't know what else to do except just keep going. It's, you know, it's how it goes sometimes. Right? I mean, I just don't know what else to do. I'm just going to keep going and hope that I get another shot, maybe at her or a fish, another fish in general. I mean, all these muskies are good. It's easy to forget when you hook a big one like that. That, you know, first of all, you know, when we're out fishing doing our thing like this, we're lucky to be alive. We're lucky to have the opportunity to come out here and do this. And hats off to the veterans and those, you know, still serving in the armed forces. I'm serious. And the only reason I get to do what I'm doing right now is because of your sacrifice. So thank you. And I really do think about that. Even in a tough time like this, here I've just lost my biggest Wisconsin fish I've ever hooked that I've seen. I mean that was just ridiculous. That fish was a monstrosity. So new hooks. Probably even just retie my knot here. I don't want to waste too much time. I'm just going to keep going because there could be another fish of equal caliber out here right now, and I'm not going to sit around on my ass like a frickin' pansy cry. I could have cried. You're going to see the footage. You've already seen the footage if you're watching this right now. What else am I going to do? Alright, let's go.